Hey, how's it going everyone? Welcome back to Keeping Fish Simple. So in today's video, we're going to be doing another vlog. We're going to be doing a bunch of little things in the fish room. One of the things that's been kind of concerning is the fact that I noticed that one of the studs in one of my stands was wet from like my RO water leaking. Some little opportunistic mites. I don't think they're termites. They just look like wood mites, and some ants have decided that they're going to call that place home. We've got to deal with that. We've got some Betta spawns, and I'm going to show you guys a bunch of other things because you guys have also asked me about like how a bunch of little things around the fish room work. So if you come over here and you come down here, it's got this funny smell. If you look at this stud, you can see that it's just not in the best condition. If you look even closer, you'll see a bunch of gross little mites. Now I'm telling you, this smells really musty. It doesn't look like it's completely gone yet. We're gonna have the actual pest guy come and do the building, and he'll come and do this a bit later. I don't know when that's gonna be, maybe a couple of weeks time, but for the meantime, I'm gonna try and treat it with some poison. So you can see in here, it's kind of gross. Like, I don't really want to be showing you this, but you can see all those nasties in there. You don't want that stuff at all. So I just went down to Bunnings and I picked this up. Well, as you can see, it's an ant, spider and cockroach killer for indoor and outdoor. I don't know whether this is gonna work. I looked at all the other stuff and it seems like this is the best option, and I feel like it's gonna kill them. But if you look even closely, it says something about do not spray over uncovered fish tanks. We're gonna have to be very, very careful here and make sure that we don't get any of this stuff near any of the fish in the fish room, because you can see like we've got some really expensive fish just nearby. So we've got to be a little bit careful, but I'm gonna give this a spray and then just get this poison out of the fish room. So let's do that right now. Well, I just finished that up, and who has any clue whether that's going to work? One of the things that I definitely recommend to do is just not to build fish tank stands out of wood, especially if you're planning on having a massive fish room full of water, because it's okay if you've got like your one tank at home. If you've got all this, like all these tanks and all this water constantly on the floor, it just becomes a problem. So luckily, I'm not planning to be here for a crazy amount of time, so I should get away with, you know, without having to worry too much. Anyways, aside from that, let's go have a look at Lemon and Clementine. You can see that they've had their babies for about a week. They've got about 9 more days until I'm going to separate them from their fry and then raise the fry, and they can have another spawn hopefully. You can see the female up the back, that's Clementine, and she's with all of those fry. Now, I don't know how many there are. I'm obviously new to discus breeding. I've only had these guys for a couple of weeks. What I've noticed is, so they give birth to a bunch. Some of them go white, obviously when they spawn, like angelfish do and stuff like that. One of the things about this tank is, despite it being pretty clear of anything else that's going to distract them, the fry just go to the darkest object in the aquarium. Now, I don't know whether that's stunting some of the growth of some of the fish or whatnot, but they were definitely going to some of the corners really early on when they were first spawned over here. A lot of discus breeders paint their tanks white, and I haven't done that, so that's another thing I'd change about the fish room. So we had a bunch of them clumping up, and luckily these guys are good parents and they were going there and collecting all those fry and bringing them back. You can see some of the size differences, so there's some real good, massive, really fast growing fish there. And then there's also just some runty little ones. These guys are going to be in here for at least the next 9 days before they get separated. You can see one of those little runts there that's just probably not going to make it. These have been easily one of my most favourite fish to breed, and actually one of the easier ones to breed. Now obviously the real challenge is going to be getting these fry up to a sellable size. For the most part, these guys have been pretty hands off. Watching them breed, it's really satisfying. I've just never seen fish do what these guys do. It's just crazy. Now if we come over to these tubs, you would notice that I've been doing a lot of Betta breeding in the tubs. I've only got 3 tubs going at the moment because I've got bettas everywhere. I've got bettas in this tank. You can see them all here growing out. They're almost ready to be sold. And then bettas up here, which are maybe a week away from being sold, just waiting for them to get some more color. There's some really good ones in here. These will be available on my website very, very soon. I'll take the lids off now and show you what I've got here. Take this lid off as well. In this first container, we've got some of these 4th of July Galaxy Bettas. I just made that name up. I'm not too sure what I'm going to call these guys. There's not too many in this spawn. You can see a few of them just hanging around. We've still got the male in here, so he's underneath this bubble nest. Now, I don't know whether there's actually any fry still in this bubble nest. Maybe they're still hatching out or whatever. I'd say there's only about 40 to 50 of these guys at the moment in here. Come over here, you can see we've got the red dragon male with all his little fry. And there's heaps in here. There's a couple hundred in here at least, I'd say. Got a lot of these coming through, so that's going to be really, really good and cool to see what colors we get out of him. We're going to take him out today as well. And in this last tub, we've got the Black Samurais, which might be my favorite Betta after the 4th of July Galaxy Koi, whatever we want to call it. The males in here, they only laid eggs today, so these guys aren't as productive as the other ones, but there's a lot of eggs in here. So you can see he's under the bubble nest, and if you look in here, you can see a few of the eggs, like there's one there. There's probably just a ton under here. It's got a really thick bubble nest. I'm going to leave the male in here, but I've got to take the female out. She'll be under one of those leaves down there, hiding from him now because they finished their spawning this morning. It's super great to have some of these bettas coming through, especially these really cool fancy ones. I'm sure that you guys will enjoy having them. I just finished that up, and you can see all these little fry now. There's just tons of bettas now in this fish room. I'm making a bunch of them just so I can, sell them to the wholesalers. I'm having a really good time breeding them. Super fun fish to breed. I like the genetics of them, just seeing what you get from breeding things together. So I'm gonna do a bunch of crazy things probably now that I've got heaps of these, straight black samurai. So I might cross a black samurai with a red dragon or just something cool like that. So I'm gonna put these tops back on. One other thing I want to do today is I think a bunch of these Corys have spawned. So if you look in here, this is the Triliniatis tank, and you can see in the spawning mop there's a ton of eggs, which is great. There's some white ones in here obviously. A bunch of fertilized ones. In this Panda Cory tank we've got some fertilized eggs in that spawning mops. I've got to take all these guys out. Now I'm doing the method that I've been showing you in my previous videos with hatching them in these big nets. And it's been working great. I've been getting a ton of Cory fry. In fact, you can see just here some of the small ones that I've got. These are like some pandas in here, some longfin pandas, and obviously some albinos. So the method's working really well. I'm getting a really good hatch rate, and yeah, so I just chuck them in these grow out tanks and then leave them for a couple of weeks and come back and they're pretty big, and then I can grow them out to full size. So let's go take those Cory eggs out of those tanks. Well, I just wrapped that up, and you can see that I've collected a bunch more of these Panda Cory eggs. If you look over in here, I've just thrown the spawning mop in this net because I can't be bothered picking them all out. There's just hundreds of them, so they can just hatch and then fall down to the bottom, and I'll take the spawning mop out and take the fry out later. This is how I've set up the net. You can see there's nothing in there. It's just the normal tank water that they were laid in, and then literally all I do is take the eggs and I pour them in. Simple as that. Gotta try and make sure there's no snails in there, but then I just leave them in here until they hatch. Here's one of the fry boxes with some hatchlings in it. There's probably a lot in here, but they like to hide under the sides. They all hide underneath. You can see them all swimming out. They hide underneath there in the darkness until they're a bit more confident, and then they come out. So that's gonna pretty much wrap it up for today. I'm gonna catch up with you guys in a couple more days' time and update you with what's happening. It's looking like we're gonna have a few more spawns from some angelfish. I'm still pair testing a bunch of these guys. These guys might spawn today. Come over here to the Betta rack. We have now got these containers. So I got a bunch of these containers in wholesale. These are available on my website if you guys are interested down below. It's keepingfishsimple.com. And I'm gonna have some of these guys up there for sale, but these are just little Betta boxes. And these aren't gonna be great for like just keeping bettas in general, but this is gonna be really, really useful for me for keeping my brood stock. I'm gonna rotate my brood stock through aquariums anyways. And also just for temporarily storing bettas that are for sale. So you can see how I'm stacking them all up on here. There's a couple of ways that I can stack them. But yeah, it should work really, really well. There's a bunch of different ways that I can orientate this. I could have them either like this or like this. Now, I'm probably gonna go with something like this. I need to get a bunch of dividers, obviously, just so the bettas can't see each other, because otherwise it'll drive them insane. But yeah, no, this should work. These look really, really good. Just really neat looking, and they're a perfect size. I mean, I could even, like, if I wanted to, bring down the shelves and put more shelves and just have a couple hundred of these guys, which isn't necessary, but it definitely could be done. Now, the other thing that's good about these is if I feel like it or can be bothered, I could drill into these and connect them to a sump, and then basically just have water from like maybe one of these big 4-foot tanks pumped up and then into these where they overflow back down, so they're always getting fresh water. But when I have bettas in these, I'm going to be doing daily water changes regardless. So I'm going to quickly show you guys the discus because there's some updates on that. Also, while I'm down here, the poison didn't work, so if anyone has any ideas on how to get rid of these silly mites, I'd really, really appreciate it. But yeah, these two have been kind of bickering a little bit and just learning how to parent. They haven't been eating any of their fry, and this morning she's trying to organize the fry and she's getting a little bit stressed out. So one of my strategies has been to turn off the lights just a little bit so they can still see each other. You can see here just some of that weird behavior. So they weren't really doing it before, but I turned on the lights to record them and they're back to doing it. Yeah, these guys are still learning how to parent, and this is part of breeding discus, is all these little tiny challenges. She's been giving him a little bit of a hard time because she expects him to go and move the fry. So she's been picking them up, fitting them back out and trying to keep them in a cloud. I'm gonna turn those lights off now. And this should be a little bit better, just a little bit less stressful. It's much more dim. They can try to kind of sort themselves out. It's kind of upsetting that they're up the back of the tank all the time because you don't really get to see them, but you can see some of those orange bellies on the fry. That's from all the brine shrimp that they've been eating. So these guys will come out in about 8 to 9 days time. You can see some of that behavior happening right now. Well, it's now the next morning and I'm feeling a little bit more motivated, so we're gonna do some stuff today. I'm gonna quickly show you guys the discus now. So they've kind of settled down today. The two main things that I'm focusing on are going to be getting that new brine shrimp hatchery installed, which I've been really slack on, and doing the filters because I want to put some new filters in. So let's get a start on putting these filters in. So I finished up doing this side, so you can see all the new sponge filters installed, which should be really, really good. I've still got to do the other side, which I'm going to do in a sec. And I've also just run to the hardware store and picked up some of these. So these are my cup hooks that I use for my brine shrimp hatchery. So I'm going to take you to the back of the fish room and show you how these guys work. So if you have a look up here, you can see my brine shrimp hatcheries. So the way they work is you can see this cross beam here. So the brine shrimp are actually attached to this. Now, hooks that I was just showing before, you can see they're hooked up there. And then there's a bit of this hobby wire, which is attaching the brine shrimp hatchery. So what this is it's very similar to the method on I think it's the King of DIY's channel. I think that's where I got it. Basically, it's just a little water bottle. I think it's like a 2-liter water bottle. I've cut the top off and I've drilled some holes in the top and running this hobby wire through like that. And it's suspended so it doesn't make any rumbling noise or anything like that. And it's tapped into my air system up here. There's a tube for the air to come in where it makes all the bubbles and this tumbles. And then basically what I do is I turn this off, so I unplug this, leave the tube up there, and then all the brine shrimp fall to the bottom and I collect them and feed them to my fish. So that's how the brine shrimp hatchery works. Since I've had these shelves installed, there's a bit more space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this hook over and then put a third one in here, and we should have 3 brine shrimp hatcheries in place. So I can do one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and one at night. That's now done, so you can see over here. So that'll be really, really useful now for growing out a lot of the fry that I have, because a lot of these fry need to eat more than I'm feeding them just to grow a little bit quicker, because none of them are dying from being underfed. It's just that they're not growing as quick as I'd like them to. This will be really, really good for the discus fry and everything like that. Now, I don't think I'm going to finish this up today. I just, can't be bothered. So I'm going to do a feeding and then I'm going to head home. And I'll catch up with you guys in a couple of days' time and we'll see what's happening. And I'm going to finish that stuff up. You can see in here, these are the black rams and they're looking like they're going to spawn again. So we've got the male in there and the female here. We might get some more little black ram eggs and wrigglers, which would be great. So it's another day in the fish room and you can see we've got some of our Corydoras breeding. So these guys have been spawning, I'd say every week at this point. You can see these guys are still spawning, so you can see right there in the middle of the screen some eggs. These guys, their eggs are very, very small compared to other Corys, and they're a little bit more fragile than other Corys, but you can see they're going berserk, and the female's got some of those eggs in her basket. I'm going to harvest some of these guys. I'm trying a bunch of different hatching methods for these, and it's been working pretty well. But that's some of my Corydoras breeding, which is very exciting. Another thing that's exciting is we've had a spawn of some koi angels. I was getting a little bit scared. We hadn't had a spawn for about 2 weeks, so you can see the spawn in here. There's a few white ones, but the most of them, like there's probably hundreds of these guys in here, and most of them are fertilized. So that's really, really good news that these guys are all fertilized, or not all fertilized, but we've got some more koi angel breeding. We've also had a bunch of fighting with our Peruvian Ultim Angel pair. These guys haven't spawned for a couple of weeks and they've just been beating each other up, and I don't know whether they're a pair. So what I'm going to do is today I'm going to take these guys out. I'm going to put them back in their tank over on the other side of the fish room with these guys in it. So these are some more adults, and we're going to try and repair them and see if we can get a better pair going, because they're just so aggressive towards each other. They're really, really wild fish and they've got a lot of wild instincts. So we're going to be doing that today. Another thing that's happened today is I've noticed that this pair of angels has just decided that they hate each other. So I'm going to give them a bit more time, but you can see the females up the back and the males right here. And he's just not been happy with her today. He's a really beautiful male. He's got a lot of gold on him, which is why I kept him and wanted to breed him. And these guys are a pair. They've laid eggs before, but he's not too happy with her, so we're going to let them sort it out. There's some more good news over here in our black ram tank. If you want to go head over to Justin's fish room, there's going to be a link up in the top right hand corner. He's been rearing up all the eggs from these guys for me because I'm not very good at it, and we've got some fry on the way, so these will be available in about 3 months' time. There's a lot of gold ones, and there's a lot of blue ones, and there's a lot of these black ones. These are like a semi-black one, so we've been breeding these to get some pure blacks. She's ready to lay eggs. I'm going to guess that they're going to lay eggs today. She's been going up to the male and saying, hey, come into this pot and spawn with me. So I'm betting tonight we're going to have some spawning, and Justin's going to need to come over and take some more ram eggs, which is never a problem. Some more good news is that these panda Cory eggs have hatched, the ones that we collected earlier on in the video. So These guys are going to sit in here for a little bit longer and grow up just a tad more before they go into a grow out tank. But over in this other net, you can see there's a lot more of these panda cories. These are long fins and short fins. There's a lot more of these guys that are all ready to move out and go into another net. So we're also going to be finishing this up today. So lots of stuff happening today that we've got to do and work through, but it's all looking really good. Production's going great. One more thing before we quickly get to our jobs is look at Lemon and Clementine. They are doing such a good job as parents right now. Lemon is looking very, very good. His colors are great. You can see he's got, sorry mate. These are the most amazing fish I've ever dealt with in my life. They're just so beautiful and so interesting and fascinating. But if you look into this Bosemani tank, you can see all these Bosemani baby rainbows in the aquariums. These guys are so prolific. You can see the broodstock here. These are very young and they're so prolific already. These guys are all just hatching in here and some of them are surviving because they're so well fed. You can see how plump some of these females are. And it's been really surprising. So I'm gonna have to take that spawning mop out and do a couple of controlled spawns. I've got the feeling a lot of these fry are actually gonna survive in here, which is very, very interesting. You can see there's a mix between big ones, small ones, and just a whole bunch of these guys. But the males look fantastic in the morning. I can't stress that enough. They look so good. Well, I just moved these ultims into here, the Peruvian ultims, and we'll see if they can't figure it out in here. You can see there's already like some dominance going on. So once these guys pair off or choose a corner and like sort their stuff out, we'll take them back out and put them in that pairing tank. But let's do some more jobs. Well, I just wrapped up moving some fish around and you can see that the bottom of this tank has significantly less cories. That's because I'm still experimenting with how to stock grow outs together. So I found that the cories, and you can see there's a ton of bristlenose plecos down the bottom of here, they don't do too well together. So I've removed the cories so they can grow a bit better, and yeah, they don't work too great together. But if you come over to this tank, we've got a bunch of cories along the bottom. You can see there's a big group of snails. The water's a bit cloudy in here, and there's just a ton of these dwarf neon rainbow. These guys do work really well together as companions for growing out because the rainbows stay up the top of the tank and then the cories stay down on the bottom. So the next job is going to be to sort out this little box because our black samurai Betta, he was the last to spawn. He's still under his little bubble nest, but you can see all these little fry everywhere. His job's done. He's got to go back into his aquarium instead of being in this box. So I'm going to separate him out and put him in his new tank. So here he is back in his tank. He's in with these gold laser cories. So he's gonna have to settle in and eat up because he hasn't been eating for the past week just because he's been taking care of his new fry. And he should be good to go in another maybe week and a half, 2 weeks to breed again. Last job today is gonna be to do a water change in here with some RO water. You can see these guys have become a lot less dependent on the parents. And this has just happened today since I've started recording. Righty, well we've just wrapped that up, so the tank is now a little bit more clean, but they've also just dirtied it up because I fed some more of my seafood mix to see whether these little babies would take it. And you can see there's a little chunk up the back, so I might have to take that out, but the water's all cloudy again. Yeah, they're doing really, really well. Anyways, good news. Black rams have started to spawn. I've given them a little bit of time and I don't want to spook them too much, but see right down here, they're getting busy. I was just on the phone to Justin and he's all ready to go. So he's gonna come tomorrow morning this time instead of tonight because I'm gonna be able to take these eggs out and just leave them in a little tumbler for the night. So he'll come tomorrow morning and he's gonna collect those eggs, but he's also gonna bring me some more German blue ram fry because what we've been doing is I've been taking his fry and raising them up in my little breeder boxes because I have more space and he's just been hatching them. So you can see we've got a bunch of them here. I don't know how many, someone can try and count if they can be bothered. But we've got this second breeder box ready, so he's gonna bring another batch for us to raise up. So yeah, I guess I'll see you guys when these guys are done breeding. Well, it's about an hour later and it looks like the deed is done. The female's out of the cave, she's been looking for food and the male seems to be done. I'm gonna take these guys out now and we can have a look at how many eggs we got. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use one of these Betta breeding tubs I've been using. You can get these from Kmart or whatever, just to temporarily house the eggs overnight. They're not gonna be happy about this. Whoa. Here they are, and you can see there is hundreds. You can see here just There's an insane amount. I don't know if this is more than the last spawn. I think it is. Someone can count these as well, but hopefully they're mostly fertilized. Now what I'm going to do is put an aerator in here and some methylene blue and leave them overnight. Just a couple of drops. Put that in there so that the eggs get oxygen. Now that should be perfect until tomorrow morning. So we'll leave these guys overnight, and when Justin comes tomorrow, I'll catch up with you guys again. Alrighty, so it's next morning and Justin's here. I'll show you what you're here for. Back to our routine. It looks like you said 20% more than last time.
Yeah, it looks like there's just on that lip of the pot, it looks like...
Yeah, she was real plump compared to last time. I put a lot of effort into giving her heaps of protein. Right, so last time, the ones that you've got now, how many golds are there? Because we had like heaps of people saying that there weren't going to be black rams, that they were just dark blue rams.
Yeah.
Clearly they're not.
We've got about 40% gold rams now.
And I reckon they're going to breed again. They're a real good pair. Basically, we're going to bag them like we bag fish. No, it's really good.
I just fill it in.
Alright, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks so much for watching, and yeah.